Good evening, everybody. This is Unity News Network, brought to you by Delivering Liberty. I hope everybody is. It's not Unity News Network at all. What am I saying? It's Unprecedented TV. Sorry, buddy. That is a slip of my normal routine of doing another program for 3 years straight. I do apologize. It's Unprecedented TV. Welcome, everybody, to the show. I'm gracious. My name is Sean Finch. I am very, very lucky to be asked by our prestigious director of the show, creator of Unprecedented TV, former Lib Dem MP, Lembit Opeg, and he will be joining us shortly. I'm obviously here as a new presenter on the show, hopefully, if I please, Lembit. And I will be going through basically, hopefully doing a show once a week. And we're going through basically the news of the day, current affairs, and giving my personal analysis. I've been promised by Lempit that, this is the place of uncensored speech, of for free speech. So I'll be giving perhaps looking at other presenters, I think giving quite a unique and different perspective on current affairs. And I hope that I will be, it will definitely be something different. I'll definitely be maybe a black sheep of the Unprecedented TV family, but we'll go through and see what we can do, what entertainment we have. And hopefully people from previous shows, my own live streams in the past of Delivering Liberty's YouTube channel, my own personal YouTube channel. I'm hoping that people will perhaps come over and watch this show as well. I mean, I'm a big advocate for what's known as co-opetition, not in the sense that yes, that Unprecedented TV could be seen as a competitive rival in a way, but I do believe in freedom of choice, and I do believe in supporting networks that have a similar kind of ethos in terms of free speech, in terms of the market of ideas and opinions. So I'm hoping perhaps that we can all basically the current lamestream media, or mainstream media as they're called, to be eventually replaced by networks such as this. So with that said, I would like to possibly, if he's free to do so, the creator of Unprecedented TV, Lempit, how are you?
Not bad, but we already owe you an apology, because in the first stuff that went out, it said Sean Fitz. We'd renamed you because we think you've got the channel.
That's okay. I'm okay with aliases. I'm okay with that. Totally fine. Sean Fitz, that could be my new alias.
It'll still be somewhere, and the team is desperately trying to change some of it. So it'll be interesting.
No. It's fine. I'm okay. It's basically my middle name, so it's not really essentially it's not incorrect. It's just simply another one of my names, basically.
You're being very
how
generous. I'm not bad at all. And by the way, I was listening to what you were saying there. So it'll be Finch in future. It's probably Fitz today. So sorry about that. You can imagine I get quite a few misspellings of my name, Lembit Opeg. It's not often that that goes out completely right. But I'm great. And you know what? I've never heard that that phrase before, but that's exactly what I think as well. We are cooperating and competing. There's this small time radio station I used to work with, and they went crazy if you went on anyone else's programs. And I said to them, our viewers, we've got 10,000 viewers. That leaves 7,999,000 to go. And we can probably all fit into this world. And that's the thing, well, if we're both about 10 million viewers each in Britain, then it might be more serious. But the fact is, as long as we're ideologically aligned, then, as you said, I don't want to beat the mainstream media. I want to be the mainstream media. Completely aligned with you on that. Wouldn't it be a happy problem if we were both trying to get 40% of the market share?
I know. I don't see any issue with that. I've been on like other shows. We all overlap at some point. I've been on TNT as a guest various times. David Clues as well, a colleague at UNN. He's been on various different shows. I think that as long as we share a common goal, and I think like to a lesser extent, it's almost like the enemy of my enemy is my ally. I'm not saying it Unprecedented and UNN are enemies, but in a similar kind of vein, it's as long as we share a common goal and really a common enemy, in terms of the mainstream media, which I think personally is a totally controlled entity, in the sense that the state is just, mainstream media now is just an extension of the state, and it's done through the control of the UK Press Card Authority, which is a state-created entity working alongside the mainstream media tycoons. So essentially, it's that sort of definition of corporatism, where big state and big media, in this case, work together to basically determine who is a journalist. Because before the UK Press Card Association was created, sorry, the Press Card Authority, UK Press Card Authority, was created in the 1990s. We had freedom of the press, in the sense that the state cannot determine who is and who isn't a journalist. And when they created this body, it basically created a gatekeeping, quite literally a gatekeeping kind of position, where you're not allowed into our big boy club unless you have this card, essentially a press card. And then the state worked along it. The Royal College of Policing, when police are being trained, they're taught that, what is a journalist? Well, the answer should be, if someone says they're a journalist, they're a journalist, really. Back in the day, you used to have a little press sign in their hat saying that they were members of the press and whatever. And we used to have this card before the 1990s. But now they're taught, so the state teaches their state enforcers, their state policy people, to basically identify as you're only a journalist if you have this press card. So, I mean, that's why I think since then, I mean, they created this organization on the pretense of a threat of the IRA, but by the 1990s, really the IRA threat was quite minimal. It wasn't exactly the troubled era of the 70s and 80s. So it was just used as a nonsense of, what's the old saying? They say that, for governments to get around laws, they'll create emergencies in order to circumvent those particular laws that keep them in check anyway.
The climate change scam is exactly an example. I know we're going to talk about that later. Interesting you make that point, though, Sean. One of our presenters is really active, Claire Dyer, runs a show called Dire Consequence. Really great woman, very brave. Very brave.
I know Claire. I like Claire. Yeah, she's been on. We've been on each other's shows every now and then. Yeah.
Well, she's got a press pass from us, which it's really hateful to have to try and register things. It's a form of control. Yeah. And she has a press pass from us, and it's got my number, and people can call me and we can confirm, and they can see that we're putting out dozens of shows a week. And the police essentially kettled her into this bunch of brainless, left-wing communist, violent thugs. Because they said, no, you don't have the proper press pass. And then they let the others through, and she was in real danger, physical danger. And it was a classic example where Claire was covering it for her show. And as a result of that, she could have been beaten up or worse. It's unbelievable, the level of state control. Ofcom, totally useless, but very good at meddling in free speech. And if you ever make a complaint about written press, as I have done before, they tend to just side with the papers. So grudging. Who's paying for them? Well, of course, the papers are. That's the point, Sean. I think the reason that you're doing so well, and hopefully Preston will do well, is because people are fed up about it. But I bet you they try and come for us too.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you start getting bigger and bigger numbers, I mean, people consider like GB News, for example, as like the alternative press, and it really isn't, because again, this body that I mentioned, the UK Press Card Authority, I mean, I could actually just show you on the screen here, is that the website of the UK Press Card Authority, they literally list, I think it's 18 organizations such as the BBC, Sky News, Reuters, various other sort of well-known media sort of corporations. I mean, one of the, and they list the title given to these 18 gatekeepers, if I just about to find it, they're literally given the title of gatekeepers. So, and one of those members of these, I believe it's 18, UK Press Card Authority, is that GB News is one of these gatekeepers. So basically, part of these gatekeeper they determine who is and isn't a journalist, essentially. So by issuing out the UK press cards, you basically have to not you personally, but it will go through a board of these 18 or whatever the number is. I'm pretty sure it's 18. And they will basically judge you for. The funny thing is, you have to produce work. You have to show. You have to give evidence that you are doing journalism. But the irony is that you first have to do the journalism before you have the press card. So even like logically, it doesn't really make any sense. If I'm already doing the journalistic work, like you see with citizen journalists outside the various migrant hotels and all of that, is that they're basically acting as non-journalists, as this board would determine. But you have to do work in order to get the press card in itself. So the whole logic of it is quite a strange kind of process. But it's just basically, yeah, here we go. It's could you possibly share the screen, Lembit?
Yeah, let's get the screen up. No problem at all.
So this is the website, the UK Press Card Authority. Obviously, were recognised by the NPCC, the National Police Chiefs Council. So this is the relationship that I'm talking about, where it's big state and big media corporations working together to basically kind of screw you over. The UK Press Card Authority manages a voluntary scheme, but the UK Press Card to professionally news gatherers working in the UK is wholly owned and collectively controlled by the UK's major media organisations, industry associations, trade unions, and professional associations. The scheme is managed through these 22 gatekeeper organisations. And if I can find the list of the I think is this. I'm going to assume it's this one. I've not been on here we go. List of gatekeepers. So we've got the British Association of Journalists. We've got the BBC, of course. We've got a Broadcasting, Entertainment, Communications and Theatre Union, British Forces Broadcasting Services. You've got Channel 4. You have Chartered Institute of Journalists. This is how they control basically the journalists. This is how basically, if you go off topic or if you perhaps report, and we saw this during the COVID era. We saw this during like the big anti-lockdown marches, which I did advocate for. I was very much so. Apologies. I did. Just turn this off.
No, you're in demand now. Now you come on to Unprecedented. Everybody wants to know.
I know. They're all calling me up.
It could be the Press Card Association. Maybe it's them telling you to shut up.
Oh God, maybe it's
because
that.
they don't want you to break down this closed shop.
Do you know what's terrible? I literally just got my phone today broke, and I have no idea to turn this alarm off now. It's like it's a brand new phone to me, and it's helping me scream this.
They're just finding other ways to try to distract you. Just while you're messing with that, it's worth pointing out that technically this Press Card Association thing is voluntary, but they want it to be statutory, I feel, because they want to keep the competition. They want to keep the bad voices, the non-cooperative voices away.
Sorry,
that person's very insistent.
I just had to turn the phone off. And it's still going. Wow, this is
that's determination.
I had to turn off the thing. It is, yeah.
It shows that they can still spy on you when the phone's off. That's what that proves.
There you go. I'm hoping that's going to switch off eventually. Apologies, but anyway, so part of what my point was is that many people think that GB News, they'll go Lembit. You don't need to do unprecedented.tv. And Sean, you don't need to do, no one needs to do any of these alternative things. We have GB News. They're alternative. They're against the state and all of this. And it's like, well, literally, they sit as a gatekeeper, on the UK Press Card Authority. So I don't. They're not what you think they are. I can't turn this off.
The GB News started well. I think that could be an alarm to wake you up after your afternoon nap. By the sound of it,
it is actually an alarm for something. Media.
It's probably to be on this program, to be on your own show, maybe. Maybe they were going to give you entry to the board of the Press Council Association, or whatever it's called.
Oh, that is so annoying.
Yeah, it's definitely is. This is the wonder of live television. Thousands of people are watching you struggling with your new phone. Here we are in the new media. You can't even switch your alarm off.
You know what it is? I know exactly what it is. It's my old phone. Is that I've been hitting the wrong phone? It's my old phone that's done it. Yeah. So the broken phone is the alarm's going off. But anyway, I was wondering. I was hitting the other phone, going, "What's going on? Why can't I turn this off?"
That's so funny.
But that's the reason why. So yeah. So basically, what people think is an alternative news channel. GB News. It's not actually alternative. It is a state sanctioned. This is basically what the state permits you to have. This is a state sanctioned, state approved alternative newscast channel. You know, it's similar to back in the day with Channel 4. Back in like when did Channel 4 come into conception? Was it the late 80s or early 90s?
I think it was about 1980 or 81, around then. We'll get the team to have a look at it and see, but I think it was around 1981. So, because I remember watching the very first day. They were on strike actually. The first day was messed up, and they had countdown, which is why it's so iconic, because they could do that but little else.
Yeah, it's oh, by the way, Pandora Chaser, welcome, and Matt Zid. I'm just on the YouTube channel of Unprecedented. Welcome, the guys who used to watch me on another channel. Welcome, guys. Channel 4. I mean, when you really think about that, the whole Channel 4 creation, I've thought about this in the past, and it's like back in the day, Channel 4 was seen as this alternative, cool, hip, edgy broadcasting channel. But really, I mean, if you look into Channel 4, it's owned by the state. Really, it's like a subsidy of the BBC almost. Yeah. It's basically kind of like what I would see as a nudge unit, a behavioral insights team creation, where they are trying to basically create what is permitted as an alternative, edgy, allowed state of mind. They remember used to have the Tube. They used to have what were the other sort of Queer as Folk. They had what were other people in the chat? Maybe what were the other sort of edgy shows that Channel 4 used to have back in the beginning? It was seen as counterculture. Yeah. But when Eurotrash, Charlotte Emma's in the chat, Eurotrash, you had various all these channels, and they were basically seen as rebellious to the establishment. They were seen as that. But how can it be rebellious to the establishment if essentially they are created by the establishment? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, Brookside was really interesting because it was the first
lesbian. Yeah, lesbian kiss.
It was really pushy. Yeah. Now, remember, it was 2nd of November 1982 they first came on. I did watch it with interest that day. And the news reportage was different as well, Sean. When you watched it, I wasn't, I suppose I was political, but I didn't realize it. I was 17. But I realize now that it was telling me stuff that I wasn't getting anywhere else. But there seems to be this norming factor, this conformist factor, which has certainly affected GB News, where I remember I used to be on all the time, and they'd want me to say, "Oh, tell everyone there's no climate emergency," and then afterwards they'd start talking about the climate emergency. I thought, well, where's the narrative consistency in that? And it just seems to me they got a huge budget, but they, apart from the fact that they got more reform people on than the other stations, they don't really seem to be pushing the boat out at all.
No, that in its, I mean, like with the TV creations and all of this, it's like I think personally, like parties like Reform UK and Farage, like as perhaps conspiratorial as this may sound, I generally do think that they are perhaps maybe not state creations literally, but they are at least state approved or tolerated. It's basically like a pressure, like Channel 4 is a pressure valve in terms of we need to create something that will let steam off for the general public in case they become dissidents in the future or rebellious in the future, whatever it might be. And I think Reform UK is yet another kind of the word, says Matt Ziller, another Channel 4 show. Like Reform UK is like another pressure valve party. You're seeing right now that you're seeing basically a lot of conservatives, as in the Tory party, they're basically defecting to Reform, and all it's just basically passing the torch from the dying Tory party. And I think purposely that's why I forget her name now. Who's the current leader again of the Conservative Party?
Kemi Badenoch is the
Badenoch,
caretaker leader, I think we would call her.
Yes, but I think personally, and again, this might sound a little bit controversial, is that I do think that she has only been put as like the leader because many of the membership. I'm not talking about the like the backbenchers and stuff. I'm talking about general everyday people who pay their £25 subs annually to the Conservative Party or whatever. I think that she has been put there purposely to tick a lot of the members off. And they will instead go for reform because, not just because she is black, but because of her whole mental state of she is quite a regressive, how can I say it? A regressive, liberal kind of minded individual. And also another reason, and again, it might sound a little bit controversial, especially the term given, is that she is what is known really as an anchor baby because her mother purposely gave birth in the UK to her before the what was it? The Act of Parliament that basically before it came into force. She was born a year before the Act of Parliament to prevent these kind of anchor baby situations from occurring. And because of that, I think a lot of people are aware of this. And because of that, it's like, well, why should we vote for you? We're trying to migration has become a big, big talking point in current affairs of late, especially due to the hotel stuff and everything like that. And a lot of people are really like, look, we really don't, and if she was to represent that, some may see, it's basically a lot of the Conservative membership and also the rank and file of the Tory party, they're basically just going to jump ship. I think she has been specifically selected to be the leader to create the migration to the Reform Party. I think that's what it's about, really.
That's quite conspiratorial. When I look at her, it's interesting. When I look at her, I suppose I never really judge people on these sorts of things, but I'm not sure. I don't hear Conservatives complaining about her ethnicity. I hear them all complaining about her ineffectiveness. She comes across as a well-meaning, middle-ranking schoolgirl debater. She doesn't come across as a leader, and she absolutely doesn't come across as a future prime minister. But I hadn't heard the anchor baby phrase before. But what my issue with her is, she's just not clear. I don't know what she stands for. Now, we got into this because you were talking about establishment. She's clearly part of the establishment. It's a big irony, and I tweeted on this myself. It's a big irony that she now says she wants to drill to extract all the gas and oil. She might as well go for coal as well because there's tons of that. But it was her own party that introduced this balmy net zero rubbish in the first place.
Yep.
And that's the problem. When you do something which is so economically damaging, and then you say, well, actually, we're going to reverse it. It's crazy. That's what Mussolini did in the war. He supported the Germans, then he supported the West. It's like, what's your narrative? What's your narrative, Kemi? We should get her on the show, actually, and ask her.
Yeah, I got a feeling that she might decline the invitation.
Never say never.
Yeah, so... Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's true. But also, so to talk about that also, so today, just a few hours ago, I think it was announced that there's a new leader of the Green Party. And to touch on what you said earlier about how the mainstream media is basically politically kind of woke now, and they keep pushing this green agenda, net zero, all of this sort of stuff. You've got basically... a new leader, and that being Zach Polanski. What's your opinion, first of all, Lembit, on this individual? Because I've said earlier, just before you say that, I said to you earlier, like as I walked into a pub earlier, surprise, that on the BBC was being shown in this particular pub, and obviously the news. How I found out the news was that obviously Zach Polanski had won the Green Party membership. Now, I don't know why. I mean, it must be. I don't know whether it's a slow news day. I don't know, but the Green Party, does it have any MPs in House of Commons at the moment?
Yes,
Is
it's got
is
four. It's got four.
It's four.
It's got 4 out of 650.
You've got four. You've got Polanski, obviously, is a London Assembly member. Who obviously grills the Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London. But it's not really, for some strange reason, I have been seeing Polanski propaganda essentially like plastered almost everywhere on the mainstream media. And the question I have to ask is, well, why? Why are they pushing this guy? What's that all about? What's your opinion on it?
Look, I'd be willing to bet that almost none of our viewers know who he is. Almost none. Maybe some in London will, and some Green supporters will, but most people won't know him from anyone, from Adam. My view of him is that he is absolutely typical of the Green Party. Seems to come across as middle class, all super excited about everything, visionary about having a Green Deal for the country, and completely scientifically misguided. The problem, Sean, with the Green Party is a fundamental one. It's a fatal flaw. In 1989, when I was realizing I had to step up and actually stand for politics if I wanted to see change, I briefly entertained the prospect of joining the Greens. And the reason I didn't, Sean, is because they're not a political party. They're a pressure group for middle-class people who want a religion which doesn't require you to go to church. And the fundamental problem, I have no strong view about Polanski. I know people who know him, and he doesn't seem to make a very major impression. Friendly enough, I'm told, but he's no leader as far as I can see. The fundamental problem, though, is to be leader of the Green Party, he has to believe there's a climate emergency when there isn't. He has to believe a counter-scientific piece of nonsense. He has to believe that the minuscule contribution the human race makes to carbon dioxide, 97% of which is emitted by nature every year, only 3% by us, maximum 5%, probably 3%, that's wrecking the climate. It's rubbish. So everything after that is also rubbish. But it's a religion, Sean. It's got the 4 elements of actually a cult. You're going to die. It's all your fault. But if you repent, in other words, pay money and live our way, you will be saved. So I've got no respect for the party because it only does damage. Their great achievement, Sean, I want you to really think about this, is to have wagged the dog of ignorant 4th division politicians, like, sadly, people like Theresa May, who kicked this off, and Keir Starmer and Ed Miliband on the outside, literally blowing in the wind and wasting trillions of pounds.
That's too good. Well, you've been practicing that. That's too good of an impression. Go on.
I watch him and he annoys me. I watch the mainstream media every morning so that you don't have to. But you don't see him on very often.
Were you in Parliament when he was in Parliament?
Yeah, well, I knew him and his brother, and inevitably, if you've been in the club, you get to know everybody. I met most of them. Yeah, affable enough chap. Actually, I was quite sympathetic to him in the early days until I realised how utterly balmy his scientific ignorance was, and the fact that he wants to bury carbon dioxide, the gas of life. So, I think he's not a bad person, but I think he's gone off with the fairies when it comes to.
Do you know about his father? Do you know about the whole? Because I can't remember what paper it was back in the day that the paper was sued by the Miliband's because I can't remember what rag it was, but they published they basically said that the Miliband's, when they were running leadership for Labour, they published his father's book because his father was a really hardcore Marxist communist individual, and I think it was something along the lines of the Miliband's father hates the United Kingdom. It was something along that, and they basically sued because they were using reference of the Miliband's father's book as a reference point, because obviously they believed in this multicultural, identity, minus an identity sort of nation. They believed in all of that, and they were worried that, which I personally do believe is actually true. I do think that basically they don't really care about the cultural identity. They only really care about this, I don't know, this multicultural Technicolor dream. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's in the sense that everyone's just joyful and happy, and everyone is equal. It's basically the whole WEF kind of ethos, of basically you owe nothing and be happy kind of way of thinking.
Apart from Klaus Schwab himself, of course. Does he own nothing?
Well, he's gone now, isn't he? The person who has taken over now is actually BlackRock's Larry Fink is now the new director of the World Economic Forum.
Does he own nothing? For those who don't know, BlackRock owns you. BlackRock.
Yeah.
There's this program called Mr. Robot, which I watched during the COVID lockdown. Not much else to do at the time. Grew potatoes and watched telly. But basically, it's essentially based. It's an allegory for BlackRock. BlackRock appears to have infinite greed, Sean. And the great irony is, I mean, they put tons of money rather stupidly into Ukraine. How it shows they're dumb, though, because they thought that Ukraine could win the war. They could win the war. Ridiculous. But basically, exactly in line with what you said, Klaus Schwab, who's this weird guy, he's not a Democrat, set up this organization, got incredibly rich, told us all, you can own nothing and be happy. And now they've got the company, one of the people from one of the greediest companies on the earth, in charge of the World Economic Forum. It's incredible. It's the barefaced hypocrisy of it all.
Can I say something a bit perhaps controversial? Right.
Well, you have already. Why stop now?
As this the land of free speech. So all the people that we have been talking about, they all share one thing in common. Can you guess what that particular cultural identity group of people are? And I find this quite interesting in all of the because as now Zach Polanski is now the leader of the Green Party, you have essentially, because I notice obviously a big hot topic at the moment. Like I know obviously Tommy Robinson's been on the show of late on Unprecedented TV and all of this, and there is a big focus, especially with the migrant hotel stuff, which is indeed a very thing that needs to be highlighted and reported on. But they mostly focus on Islam, which is indeed, like, I think a concerning thing for the UK, no doubt. But we have now, with Polanski becoming the Green leader, we have essentially, because Polanski, I did a little search, early life search. He is from a Jewish background. You have Keir Starmer, whose wife is Jewish and brings their family up in the Judaic faith. You have possibly most likely the next Tory leader, Robert Gendrick. His wife is also Jewish. It's quite an incredible coincidence. You had the Miliband's Jewish, that's pushing this green environmental stuff. For everyone focuses on Islam because obviously it's more louder, it's more in your face. But when you look at the actual people who are pushing, who are in power and who are pushing these agendas, they all happen to be from a Jewish background, or at least have very close ties, like Donald Trump in America. He married his daughter off to a Jewish individual, Jared Kushner. It seems Zelensky, also Jewish background. You have seemingly a lot. Larry Fink now taken over as WF, obviously Jewish. You have this sort of big sort of almost takeover of the political pillars, the media. To me, it's getting sort of. I mean, this is just me noticing. I mean, just looking at Zach Polanski's early life here, just saying that he's a Jewish family. It's not on the screen at the moment. I'm just looking at, and it seems that even Ed Davey. I was just looking. I was thinking the current Liberal Democrats leader, he is not Jewish, nor does he seem to have any. He's not married to a Jewish woman. He's married to someone called Emily Gasson. But the only thing is, when I looked at Ed Davies' relationship with Israel, consistently engaged with the Jewish community, emphasizing solidarity with Israel and the Jewish people, particularly in the aftermath of October the 7th. Davey has expressed solidarity with Jewish communities, stating on the 1-year anniversary, he has praised the mature, passionate discussions on Israel and Gaza held with students at the Jewish Free School. there just seems to be. I mean, it would not shock me if suddenly even the Lib Dem. So you have 3 out of the 4 major English parties that are essentially have some sort of strange commitment to this sort of Israel Zionistic kind of commitment. I don't know. To me, it just makes me laugh when people think of reform then and they see what's the chairman,
Zia
Youssef. Everyone goes crazy. The guy's not even an elected guy. He's a chairman. He's an internal manager within a political party. He's not even elected. But then everyone else who is elected and have these strange connections, no one says a thing. To me, that's quite strange. I mean, what do you think?
A couple of thoughts. Right, we were talking about the Green Party. We were talking about Polanski, and I didn't realize what his ethnicity or his cultural identity is. He made a big story. I had to tell everybody in his speech that he was gay, but he didn't mention his Jewish connections. But the interesting thing about it is, there's 2 ways of looking at it. The Green Party has been singularly successful in getting and wagging the dog of politics. People like Polanski and his little chums are wrecking our economic base, wrecking our manufacturing base, wrecking our car industry, because uninformed fools like Ed Miliband believe them. Now, the Green activist base is tiny, but it's been good at lobbying. Now, you could say that that's a credit to their ability to lobby, even though what they're lobbying for is utter rubbish. Now, it could be that it's not so much Judaism I'm interested in, it's Zionism. Judaism is a religion, and if you want to be Jewish, I'm a Christian, and if you want to be Jewish, go ahead and do it, and we could have theological debates. The issue is Zionism. Now, Zionism isn't a religion. It's a political creed. And the question I've got, really, Sean, and maybe we cannot answer it today, is to what extent does this political agenda have control? Now, you can understand why somebody would do that. If you are a Zionist, if you have a certain ambition for what Israel should look like and what should happen to, say, Palestine, then you're going to want to get your message across. And it could be, Sean, leaving aside the rights and wrongs of it, they've just been really good at getting themselves into power. Give you one example of it. One of the great ironies, America gives Israel tons of money. Israel uses some of that money for war and stuff, but uses another part of it to lobby America to give them more money.
Yeah,
what
I think it's a total scam.
I would. If I could do it, I would.
That is actually quite an incredible scam, because obviously we both know, especially as sort of libertarian-minded people, Lembit, that as Thatcher once famously said, that there's no such thing as government money. There is only taxpayers' money. Yeah. So they are essentially, in my opinion, robbing money from the American people, who perhaps are very anti-Zionistic and do not want any Middle Eastern wars at all or anything like that. All these wars seem to be on behalf of Israel and the state to keep this state alive. The money is stolen, essentially taken from the American people and then given to Israel. It's the biggest what do you call it? The biggest receiver of any kind of foreign aid in the world. And then they use that money, that stolen money from taxpayers, to then basically buy their way for favors. You know, they basically bribe politicians, not just in America, but in the UK and the rest of the Western world. And they use that. And that's why I'm very much against taxation. That's why, like me personally, I've changed my lifestyle to pay as little into the system as possible. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms, so I don't pay the normal taxes that a lot of people know. It's nothing. I'm not tax evading. I'm tax avoiding. You know, it's legal. You know, I simply just don't have to pay those things. You know what I mean? So So
I mean, the thing, just a couple of things. Just what you're saying is really interesting. I've got a good accountant. He says we'll never break the law. We'll do it efficiently, and we won't break the spirit of the law, but we'll do it efficiently. These people who are super rich, they don't pay tax because they find an incredibly clever way of keeping the money out of taxpayers' hands. But incidentally, I know it's not a conversation today. I still don't understand where Angela Rayner got all that money to buy a house 265 miles away from her constituency. But there we go. That's another story for another day. When it comes to Zionism, it's an incredible. You've got to admire them. The Zionist movement has been phenomenally successful at buying influence. They're really good at it. Really amazing. Now, I have issues with Zionism because I don't happen to agree with their end point. But here's one of the things that they do. I know we've gone a long way off from talking about the Greens now. But
we'll come back to it in a second. Yeah.
Similar. Yeah. Well, okay. In that case, I'll simply say this in the digression. Here's one of the things they do. They basically dress up criticism of Zionism, a political movement, with anti-Semitism. So if you criticize Netanyahu, you must hate Jews. That's like saying, well, I didn't agree with the war in Iraq, so therefore I hate Catholics because Tony Blair was a Catholic. And they do this, and the dumb mainstream media just go along with it. They just go along with it all the time. And that's what really annoys me, because they mix up a religion. They deliberately mix up a religion with something that you may find distasteful as a political movement.
They do, and it's like if you can just share the screen, please, Lembit. An example, you could technically call Ilhan Omar as almost like a American equivalent of Angela Rayner. She's a congresswoman in the US Congress. Is that this? I think is how they essentially buy. They essentially buy politicians. I'm not talking about like Israel, but I'm talking about just corporations in general. Ilhan reported a negative net worth of $45,000 when she first was elected to Congress in 2019. Her latest financial disclosure from May 2025 shows a net worth of up to $30 million. That's an increase of 66.676% increase in 6 years. So she's gone from minus
67,000% increase.
Yeah, that's basically essentially what it is. So she has somehow within that time, obviously we know how this works. It's all lobbyists. It's all, especially in America, it's even far worse. The terms of how these corporations essentially buy the product. That's why I personally have never been in favor. You speak to a lot of socialist-minded people, not even socialist-minded, just average people. They always say, "Oh, we need the state to regulate the market." And I always say is that if you allow the state to regulate the market, the first thing corporations will do is not buy other companies or buy them out. The first thing they buy is politicians. And then because the politicians, the lawmakers, are essentially the market regulators. And if you buy the market regulators, then you buy the monopolies. That's essentially, because so really people think that, oh, we need the state to regulate the market. No, my idea is that, no, we need to remove the mechanism that prevents the state from regulating the market, because we know that most politicians, 99% of them, are essentially wrong. As they're not people who are. I mean, you go to anyone on the street, you ask anyone, "Hey, do you trust politicians?" They'll say absolutely not. Like, it's a guaranteed answer. They'll say no. It's very, very, very unlikely that they're going to say yes. So why would you put the most untrustworthy people in charge of something like that? Not just in charge of the market, but basically anything. Why would you put them in charge of that? Because they're going to be bought out.
You're making me very angry. Do you know why?
Why?
I didn't realize when I was an MP, I didn't realize I could get rich. I just didn't realize. I had in my register of interest, I can't remember all of it, but one of them was the Caravan Club of Great Britain. They used to give me a few grand a year.
Oh, really? I'm a member of that now. What did they do?
They're great. They're great. I was really keen on camping and caravanning, and still am. And they said, well, would you like to be our Liberal Democrat spokesman? I said, what do I have to do? They said, not very much, really. Just keep an eye on things and let us know. We know the rules. We're not going to try and buy your influence. And we'd have wonderful lunches. And it was really good. But it wasn't much. And then I got some money from Hello, but I gave it all away. I wish I hadn't, because everyone blamed me for Hello because I went out with somebody famous. And I wish I kept it.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Did you, when they said hello, did you say goodbye?
That dates you. Yeah, back to the Beatles albums. Catalogs. Yeah. Incidentally, I'm being told off because we didn't put the advertising break in. Can I just, I've been asked in the ear. Yeah, just to say, we're obliged to remind you of some of the other great shows. We have to update this advert because it's already out of date. But here's some of the things you get on Unprecedented. We'll see you in a minute.
So
what do you make of that then? Pretty impressive, isn't it?
Pretty funky. It's pretty.
Well, you will be on that reel, as they call it. You will be on if you like it, because we definitely want you here. And I'm enjoying this conversation far more than I should, because I should be doing other stuff behind stage, but I really want to be on the show.
No, I like having a second person, to be honest with you, because like you can bounce off ideas sometimes. But I was going to say, so like back quickly to, obviously because it's topical, Zach Polanski has been elected, I think it was 86% the vote. Then that all depends on how many people actually bother voting in the Green Party. It could have been only 10 people and only 8 people voted. Eight people voted for it. Who knows?
I think they had about a 45% turnout. As I worked it out, really.
Is that what it was?
40, yeah, something like that. Yeah, roughly.
So, so basically, this was shared by the Scottish Libertarian Party. So I've had the leader Tam on the show before. He's a really interesting guy. And he, the Scottish, it was probably Tam who shared this. The Scottish Libertarian Party put this up: Green Party elect new leader, sensible policies for a sensible Britain. So apparently, Zach Polanski in his former life, before being in the Green Party, perhaps, or maybe even during, Green Party deputy is former hypnotherapist who said he can help women increase their breast size. So Zach Polanski did not change for the service. Oh, sorry, did not charge for the service and has since apologized for his comments. So I did put it into the search engine, and the first thing that came up was LBC. So obviously, I don't particularly like LBC, but it was the first. No doubt it would probably be the same sort of results. Anyway, so Deputy Party Leader admits performing hypnotherapy to enlarge women's breasts in the past. So keeping in mind, this is a guy who believes in the science, who believes in climate science, and if anyone dares to question the climate science, they are what would they call them? They are climate
change deniers.
Yeah. So all of these sort of connotations to certain historical events. That's basically it's so to make you sound like the worst person in the world, right? So Zach Polanski, the leader and deputy of the Green Party, has admitted to performing hypnotherapy to large women's breasts in the past. LBC's Tom Schwarbick asked Mr. Polanski about the practice after the article by The Sun from 2013 resurfaced about him performing the practice at a hypnotherapy clinic on Harley Street. So quite, this isn't exactly a back street upstairs from a kebab shop hypnotherapist. This is Harley Street. This is where all the rich go, isn't it? I mean, the 90-minute sessions allegedly costing £222.
Wow.
Wow. I know.
Charge though. So, he didn't charge. So that was, to coin a phrase, that's a bit of a boob.
Certainly, yeah.
One of us had to say it.
It says allegedly costing. So women were told to visualize themselves with bigger breasts. On Wednesday, Mr. Polanski apologized for his past action and said he never believed them. It does not represent my work. It does not represent me. Well, then why do it? Why would you and allegedly charge 222 quid? What's that about? Why is it 222?
It's some sort of a psychological thing, I imagine.
Two breasts? Is it something to do with that? It's some sort of weird.
I don't know. I'm not an expert. Basically, what I don't understand is, did he charge or didn't he charge? By the way, I've got no issue with him doing it. If somebody wants to pay private money, as long as it's not taxpayers' money or NHS money, then if he wants to tell people that he can make their boobs bigger by hypnotizing them, so be it. It doesn't really harm the world. I don't understand what he's apologizing for. That's the issue. What is it he says he's done wrong? And did he charge or didn't he charge? Is he telling the truth or is he lying?
Well, he says that Mr. Polanski added he never charged for the service. Okay, so there's a bit of, you don't know what to believe here. So this was, he says, quote, "This was 11 years ago. I wasn't involved in politics at all. The deputy leader said he had a varied life experience before becoming a politician, adding he'd also been a barman, waiter, nightclub doorman, and actor. He also said he apologized the day after the article came out. I apologize because I recognize that can be offensive to people," he said.
How is that offensive? Sean, I don't understand it. Right, I've gone out with people, really well publicized, who had boob jobs. I can tell you personally, I didn't find it offensive at all. But why is it offensive? Something that millions of women do. You can have a whole debate about that. Why is it offensive? What is it that he thinks he's doing is morally wrong? Now, if he's lying, he should be out straight away. If he did charge, and he's saying he didn't charge. But I just don't get it, Sean. This is the problem I've got with the Green Party. Their wokery makes them say incredibly stupid things. If he did it, he should simply say, it was a service. I never forced it on anyone, and I helped people as best I could. Nothing to see here. But it becomes relevant, Sean, because he's apologizing for it.
It is, but it's quite, I mean, keeping in mind, like I said earlier, this is a guy who would call us wackos, who would call us climate change deniers, give us all these kind of slurs. But this is also a guy who believes that you can perform hypnotherapy to make women's breasts large. Now, I don't know whether that means I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm assuming what he means is not that the breasts will physically grow, but perhaps by convincing the patient or whatever you call the other person that they're hypnotizing, that they believe that they have large breasts and therefore perhaps have confidence. I mean, I'm assuming that's what it is. I mean, what do you think about it?
I can't understand. Oh, we've been told that we were meant to do an hour, but they're loving it. They're loving it. So we were allowed to
keep going. I can keep going.
If you've got time, we can do 75 minutes today and settle in for the future, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's totally fine with me. Yeah,
you piqued the interest of the team. I can tell you this subject.
Can I play this video on LBC of Polanski answering Tom Schwarbick's questions? I think it's going to be quite funny. So
let's see if we can get a full screen. If you can get that full screen, because I can't do that. Yeah, that's great.
We can put this on. Where's it playing?
Okay, I think you'll have to play it. It'll be so much smoother the second time round. There's something clever you have to do to get the sound through.
And you shouldn't believe what
we heard it there.
Do you still believe that women's breasts can be enlarged through hypnotherapy?
I've never believed that. That doesn't represent my work or anything I've ever done. And you shouldn't believe what you read in The Sun.
Right. So you didn't charge £222 for a 90-minute session where you got women to visualize themselves with bigger breasts.
No, I absolutely have never charged for that. As I say, don't read what you've...
You have held those sessions in which you have asked women to visualize themselves with bigger breasts through hypnotherapy in order to see them enlarged.
As I've said, none of that represents my work, and I wouldn't believe what you read in The Sun.
How many women did you have come to you to see whether you could get them through hypnotherapy to have their breasts enlarged?
Absolutely none. And so that is not a service. Well, that was something that The Sun wrote about. But as I said, I think most of your listeners will know The Sun come up with wild and wonderful stories all the time. This was 11 years ago, sorry. Wasn't involved in politics at all. And I'll make a wider point.
Why did you apologize?
Can I just make this point? Lots of people get involved in politics because they work for an MP, they go to university and do a course that's about politics. Their entire life is about politics, and then they become a politician. They're a walking, talking, robotic politician. I'm someone who was working as an actor, a barman, I worked as a waiter, I worked in the front door of nightclubs, and indeed, I worked as a hypnotherapist too. I think that actually means I've got much varied experience.
That's fantastic. Yes, good luck to you. It's just what you were doing in those activities, which I see you have apologized for. So what have you apologized for if The Sun have made it up?
I apologized immediately the day after the article 11 years ago to say that doesn't represent my work and that I don't stand by that article. I apologize because I recognize that would be offensive to people, but again, does not represent my work and does not represent me.
So you did, though,
so
have women come through your door.
See, this is what I don't get, Len, but why would you apologize for something that you haven't done then?
He's being a political imbecile, Sean. Because if somebody said something about me, which I had said, I'd say I did say it. I've had that lots of times, and I've said things, and they say, "Did you say it?" I say, "Yeah." Well, I'm really offended. Well, I said it. Or if they say Lembit said this, then I'll say I didn't say it. I'm not going to apologize. I very rarely apologize for things I've done. I can explain why I did them. And if I make a mistake, I will apologize. What I won't do is apologize for something I didn't do. And that's what he's saying. I mean, this is ridiculous. I didn't even know this, Sean. The world needs to know the relationship between the leader of the Green Party
and breasts.
Hypnotherapy and breasts. Honestly.
They need to know their relation, the link of Zach Polanski and his breast hypnotherapy.
If he does not explain, if Zach Polanski, the new leader of the Green Party, does not explain his relationship between hypnotherapy and enlarging breasts, this country will never take him to its bosom.
I would vote for him if he could perform that service. Not on me, obviously. My man boobs are already big enough as they are. If anything, I want to reduce them. So perhaps he can do a service for that, and it'll be I don't know,
try saying that on the mainstream.
£111,
All right, Sean, prove it.
Prove what? Oh, what? Get my man boobs out? Is that what you're saying?
No, don't do it now.
You have to pay. You would have to pay me for that.
£222.
No, £111 is what I want, or two. Let's just finish it. There's only 20 seconds of it. Let's finish up and see what
doing hypnotherapy on them to see if they could enlarge their breasts.
Well, you asked me a different question. You asked me if I ever charged for that. No, I didn't.
Well, the other question I asked was, how many women did you see trying this particular form of hypnotherapy?
That, other than that article, which was not representative of my work, is something that I never have and never would do.
All right. Thank you very much.
Wow. So it could be. So there might be some women that might in the coming months. I think that, or maybe even sooner than that, in the coming weeks, there may be some whistleblowers to basically the women who he did basically, if he did, that is, if he did perform this hypnotherapy, there might be some women now looking to whistleblow on this perhaps and say that, well, actually I was one of those ladies.
He's in a lot of trouble here, Sean. Let's look at the options. Option 1, he never did it, in which case why did he apologize? Option 2, he did do it but never charged, in which case why did he lie? Or option 3, he did do it and he did charge, in which case why did he lie to his customers? Because he didn't believe it worked. There's no easy way out of this one, Sean. You know what? I've been in politics for 40 years. I've pretty much made every mistake in the book myself. And I've learned all this. I would say I probably learned more than anything from losing and when I made mistakes. This guy is now the leader of a tiny, titchy little party, which is wagging the dog of British politics. We need to know if he's a liar or a cheat, or somebody who just apologizes for things he hasn't done.
Very bizarre, very bizarre. But moving on from that, just quickly, because obviously I know we don't have too much time. So today as well, apparently, or at least within the last couple of days, Father Ted writer and IT crowd creator Graham Linehan has apparently been arrested. Have you heard about this, Lembit?
Tell me more.
Well, this is based on UNN here. I've just seen this. I've shared it. Not by... basically, the chap was back from holiday, it seems, or at least back from abroad. And in Heathrow Airport, I believe. Where was it? I don't know what airport exactly it was. But basically, he was... Where did I share it? I think it was actually on my Twitter. He was basically approached by armed UK police officers and was arrested. So for essentially some anti-transgender tweets on X, or Twitter as it's formerly known as. So that's apparently what has happened. If I can find just where would it be? On my, let's see, Graham Linehan. It should be, because this apparently is just kind of breaking news at the moment of why it's occurred. I'll just type it in maybe.
I'm kind of just while you're looking for that, let me just say something just about this. What I really dislike, Sean, is in a world that's meant to celebrate free speech, you can only have certain kinds of free speech. And there are certain groups who quickly get the attention of the media and the law. For example, if you transgress these almost invisible rules. One example is if you conduct silent Christian prayer outside an abortion clinic, which is closed, you can be arrested. And then the police have to pay you compensation, like some police force in the Midlands in the United Kingdom did. If you evangelize Christian faith somewhere near Farnborough, you can be arrested because your Christian evangelism can cause offense. I don't recall mainstream Muslim preachers, I don't mean people who are advocating terrorism, but mainstream Muslim preachers being arrested in this country. So this whole trans thing, I work with somebody who's had a sex change. She doesn't go on about it. I think probably she should be a woman. It seems to fit her very well. But she doesn't go on about it all the time. And it seems to me really unhealthy that we live in a society now where not just the transsexual agenda matter comes up, but where one in eight Labour politicians claims not to be straight. Now that's not a crime, but it makes me wonder what's going on in politics, because that doesn't really represent the British population as a whole.
Indeed. So this was, just to get back to the topic, which it was on topic, but you know what I mean, back to the Graham Lennon story. This is literally only within 5 hours ago this has occurred, that Graham Lennon arrested at Heathrow over his Twitter post. Father Ted co-creator Graham Lennon has been arrested at Heathrow Airport on suspicion of inciting violence in relating to his posts on X. It is Hurty Words. The Hurty Words hotline basically has been called. It was arrested after arriving on a flight from the US and said in an online Substack article that officials then became concerned for his health after taking his blood pressure and took him to hospital. The Met Police said that a man in his 50s was arrested on the 1st September. So this was actually yesterday, but obviously being reported today, on the 1st September at Heathrow Airport and taken to hospital, added his condition is neither life-threatening nor life-changing and was bailed pending further investigation. Lennon said in an online article on Substack that his bail condition stipulates he is, quote, not to go on Twitter. I mean, that in itself is hilarious. To go on Twitter, that is actually quite and
Sean,
that's his related.
Do you know where you can go? Sorry, finish your point. Sorry, I'm getting agitated. Go on. Sorry.
And that his arrest related to 3 posts on Twitter from April. This is from April, on his views about challenging a trans-identified male in a female-only space. So basically, he challenged a biologically born male who was in a female space, basically like a changing room, I'm assuming. The Irish comedian writer, who's also credited as the IT Crowd and Black Books. Sorry, I forgot he did Black Books, which is actually a really underrated, fantastic show. Said when he stepped off the aircraft, 5 armed officers were waiting to tell him he was under arrest. The Met said, quote, the arrest was made by officers from the Metropolitan Police Service Aviation Unit. It is routine for officers policing airports to carry firearms. They were not drawn or used at any point during the arrest. End quote. Go on, Lembit. What were you going to say?
Well, this point about firearms for a start. What do they think he's going to do? Right, hold a kind of sort of die-hard siege in Heathrow Airport. You know, shut down Terminal 5. It's a ridiculous thing. My fundamental issue here, the nature of your show is delivering liberty. My fundamental issue here is that the raison d'etre of the current Labour Party seems to be to take away liberty. The antithesis of what you're doing here and on the other broadcasting that you do. But my even deeper concern is people don't understand what free speech means anymore. Free speech doesn't mean having a vanilla sky dialogue that never offends anyone. It means having a robust dialogue where anyone can say what they want, as long as they don't actively stir up, I would say, physical violence against the third party. And what we're seeing now is the thought police, in a very Orwellian way, consistently deconstruct our right to say certain things. The number of times, Sean, that I have people on shows and they basically seem to say, oh no, well, I'd like to come on, but I'd better not because I don't think that I get away with saying what I want to say. And it's incredibly frustrating, Sean. You're not one of those people. I mean, I'm very optimistic about your about your program, because all the stuff that you've got there. I mean, that's an interesting vision. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually going to sort of continue on with, basically what's happened to Graham Lennon, who, to be honest with you, I don't really have too much sympathy for, because I remember back in the day, during this whole kind of, we're still in the culture war, but, like before 2020, basically, I remember there's a YouTuber called Count Dankula. Now, I'm not really a massive fan of Count Dankula for other reasons that I won't bother mentioning now. But basically, Count Dankula was the guy who famously, I don't know if you remember, taught his pug dog, a little pug dog, to basically do a Roman salute, basically. And it was all just seen as a joke, It was all because obviously the whole premise of the joke was that because it's such an adorable little creature, this pug dog, what's the worst thing you can teach the dog to do? And it was doing that. Now, obviously, a dog has comprehension of political ideologies or anything like that. So, it was just to do something silly that to wind up his girlfriend.
I find that really offensive. That is animalist. And I shall report you. You've caused me great offense by suggesting that dogs don't understand politics.
Animal supremacist. So after that, obviously that was making the rounds around social media, and obviously there was a big left and right divide over it. Like, this guy should be arrested for what he did. And Graham Lennon was one of those people who were actually very vocal about this guy. Who was a no one at the time, Count Dankula, Mark Meechan. He's now got obviously a big YouTuber now because of this, and I think he's in the Scottish Libertarian Party as well, I believe, because obviously he's a libertarian as well. And there was a big thing about it. So now it's only when it's that classic sort of proverb of once they came for the trade unions, but I wasn't a member of the union. So then they came for the priests, but I wasn't a Catholic. So, and then eventually they came for me. And that's quite literally what happened to Graham Lennon, is that eventually he was on the bandwagon of the censorship mob, the council culture kind of brigade. And eventually, when he then said something about transgenderism, they eventually came for him. So this is, in a way, it is kind of like karma, that this is because he, at the time, obviously he changed his views since, and then he actually did apologize to Mark Meechan, Count Dankula, and said, "Oh God, I could," but it was only after he too was cancelled. You remember Graham Lennon a few years ago? He was cancelled. I don't know if people remember that, but it was only after the hammer fell on him that's when he had changed his mind. And I think you get a lot of this with a lot of the woke brigade, or whatever you want to call them, the regressive left. I mean, I hate left and right, but to use the old language so people understand me, it's the regressive illiberal people. They've got a very much a high authoritarian streak in them, and they only really see the errors of their way once it comes for them. And then all of a sudden, now I understand free speech. Now I understand why, because it will never happen to me. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of mentality, isn't it? It's that, oh, but I'm one of the good people. It won't happen to me. I'm a good guy. I do all this. And it's just like, well, that will only work until it eventually comes for you.
But those people, go on.
Continue. No,
continue. I'll do one sentence, and then you better. I realize we only got about 5 minutes left. Basically, I'll simply say, when these people say I support free speech, what they mean is I support free speech about my views.
Yes.
And then they get tripped up. I get tremendous abuse on social networks. I'm fairly active on X. And people use expletives, deleted. But you know what? If somebody calls me a "see you next Tuesday," I don't think, well, that completely causes me to reassess my entire philosophy. I just accept that keyboard warriors, are rather braver behind a keyboard 300 miles away than they would be face to face. But I accept it. It doesn't actually bother me. What does bother me is the prospect that I could now claim offense and get the person who said it arrested because I feel intimidated by his or her words. It's crazy. There's a woman, I hope I get her name right, Lauren Edwards, Labour MP. Now, my parents are Estonian. And she said, I can't wait to get those effing Estonian retards out of my flat. That's what she said. Well, technically, she's committed an offense. I'm going to follow this up. By the way, Lauren, I haven't forgotten. I am going to get in touch with you, and you're going to have to pay for me and you to go to Estonia, and I'll show you the people that you offended. But I'm only doing it to make a point because you are in a stupid party that wants to shut up people who are actually making jokes and satirical observation and sometimes misguided things. And last point, I was just meant to be one sentence and it wasn't. Add on time. The other thing I was just simply says, this is a party, a political party government that puts Lucy Connolly behind bars for hurting words that she regretted 4 hours later, but allows Ricky Jones, a then Labour councillor, to say we should slit people's throats. What's going on, Sean?
He was found, obviously, he was found not guilty last week. Do you know a funny story about that? It was actually my friend, a personal friend of mine, YouTube channel Actual Coverage, that actually got that footage. And if it wasn't for people who are known as citizen journalists, aka journalists without a UK press card pass, they would have that would have continued. I think that Actual Coverage actually ended those protests because of that video that he got of Ricky Jones saying the slit in the throats comment. And if it was, because obviously the mainstream media would never, I think they would, not only were they not present because they're bad at their jobs and just lazy, and they usually steal proactive YouTubers' footage and then claim it as their own, is what a lot of the time, especially me being as a former live stream out in the streets YouTuber, that's what they used to do. You had to literally put a copyright mark on. You had to basically pay a company to basically put a copyright mark on it. Big up Actual Coverage, says Matt Zillow. And then at least the mainstream media company corporation has to pay you then to use it, whereas if you didn't, they would just use it. So in a way, it was like, well, if they're going to steal my footage, I want to get paid for it. Do you know what I mean? That was basically a logic to it. But I hope you don't mind if I could share this. I don't know if it's a screen shared already. This is to speak about the whole hotel stuff. The hotel migrant stuff.
Yeah.
This was from last. So I want to get your opinion on this, Lempit, because obviously this was at the time of last summer, where there were mass arrests. And this is going to sort of dovetail along from what the Graham Linehan thing is about, because I do think that a lot of the stuff that is being pushed, they desperately want a civil war to occur. And now the civil war will probably involve Christian first Muslim, or even more crudely, it will be kind of more white first brown. And I think that is what I think. Again, this might come down the conspiratorial route, right? I do think that this is being pushed by the security services / state. I do think that this is a state psychological operation that is going on, that is basically pushing. I noticed that if you look at, there is a lot of alternative news channels who I think are either, in my opinion, just totally controlled, or they are basically just following the algorithm to get big clicks, big views, and therefore big donations. Especially if they're monetizing their YouTube channel, then they get obviously paid through the ads. So they are following so in a way, by following the algorithm, you are actually being controlled, if you see what I mean. They are purposely doing this. So this is just like something I did the other day. It's just like, these are all the channels that are pushing for this this civil war thing. And I don't think there is going to be a civil war personally, because when you really think about a civil war, the civil war is complex. It isn't just simply, there needs to be leaders of, generals, there needs to be colonels, there needs to be all these officers, there needs to be like resources. It isn't just, suddenly it's just a never-ending fight, because it does need, there is chaos, organized chaos that needs to be given. And there seems to be this big push towards it. And I think the reason why that, again, my opinion, that the civil war narrative or psychological operation is being pushed is because of what happened last year with people like Lucy Connolly and Peter Lynch, who who committed suicide in prison. At least that's the official story for it. And various other people, thousands and thousands of people were mass arrested last summer. And I genuinely think the state really did not expect that reaction. I don't think that was the Southport killings, Axel Rudakabana, who, again, if you look into Axel Rudakabana's family, has very strange ties to the Rwanda genocide in the 90s, which were backed by Western forces in the sense of the CIA, Mossad, probably MI6. And that's why they were given refuge in the first place. And the Rudakabana family, they do have high political ties. And again, I can show all the receipts to this, because I have done actually some groundwork on it, right? But they didn't expect the reaction is what the point is. So then the mass arrests. So the video I want to show you, so this is all sort of related to what I don't mind going a little bit more if you don't mind.
Yeah, we have got our next program begins in 7 minutes. We have to be out.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, let me just get this opinion. And then we'll
somebody's screaming in my ear, but I've just said, wait a minute. Yeah, we can. They say as long as it's short. As long as it's short.
We'll end it in 3 minutes, okay? Right. I just want to get this. We'll end it on that, and then whatever. It'll be basically a sort of
let's see the video
teaser in a way of what I want to talk about in the future, perhaps.
Great.
Right? So let me just get your opinion on this, bit, and obviously the audience. Who are Stand Up to Racism? It's very generic, very basic website. There's no real information on it at all. That guy wouldn't by chance be the councillor, Ricky Jones, who
we need to cull their throats and get rid of them all.
That might not be him. I'm just saying it kind of does look like him, but I could be wrong. The Wayback Machine, which is essentially the time machine of the internet, Stand Up to Racism 2018. Wow. It's got way more stuff on it. Why is that? Are they trying to hide something? I wonder. They've got a list of the officers of Stand Up to Racism. Let's see who they are. Oh, look at this. It's Diane Abbott, MP, when she was a Labour MP. So the president, the former president of Stand Up to Racism, was a serving Labour MP. Kate Onsmore, MP. You've got Claude Morris, MEP, Labour MEP. And you'll see some of these are councillors as well. If you actually research their name, they're Labour councillors. So basically, guys, look, Stand Up for Racism is Labour, right? So now think about this. They have generated fake news that there's going to be 100 far-right riots and protesters that are going to show up. But we were here, Stand Up to Racism, a grassroots organization that's turned up to stop the fake. These people, they're probably members of not all of them, but they're probably a lot of them are members of the Labour Party. So you have these guys. This is North Korean shit, guys, that is going on here. If Siraj actual coverage didn't get this footage, mainstream media, because they work alongside the state, really, this would never have been out. This guy would have never been exposed for being a Labour Party official. What's your opinion on that, then, Pitt? I mean, basically, you've got the serving government, especially last year as well. They are in power, the Labour government, and they're basically Stand Up to Racism, a counter-protest organisation that are basically the government in disguise. What's your opinion on that, quickly?
Well, massively worrying. And a great basis for an entire show, because if we can expose the spider's web of opportunism and political nudging, maybe viewers who presumably are fairly enlightened because they're already here on unprecedented TV and watching you, Sean, the viewers will then begin to see what's really going on. I'll finish on this point and then leave the summing up to you. The fact is that we now live in a society where you really can't trust the state at all. And where the state is very happy to try to control our lives through fair means and foul. Free speech is in the bin at the moment with the current government. But worst of all, as they become more and more embattled, they're going to be fighting for their political lives. And at this point, I don't know where that ends.
Yes, I agree. It is really quite worrying what is going on. You are getting kind of, in my opinion, very. We read about all of these governments in history doing stuff like this, but really, I think we're just as bad now. I do think people still think that we live in this sort of Western democracy. Speaking of liberalism, in terms of the good liberalism, I mean, but I don't think we do. I think we're quite as tyrannical as any current enemy of the day, like what they would say about Russia, what they would say about China, what they say about North Korea. I think really we're basically just as bad, but we do it in a different kind of managerial style compared to if anything, the Eastern countries are actually more honest in their tyranny that they bestow upon their people. The sort of tyranny that they have here, they do it in no, we believe in, democracy, we believe in liberal values, we believe, and they don't. At least the other countries, they're honest in it. In this country, they just lie to your face and tell you that they're not doing what they accuse others of doing, essentially.
Thanks for letting me be on your show. I'll leave the last word to you. Incidentally, just if you're watching this live instead of in the archive, you're going to see Warren Thornton's War Report next, which starts in a couple of minutes. Real pleasure to speak with you, Sean. We'll talk in a few minutes as well. Hope you like one of your homes, which is Unprecedented TV, and long may our mutual relationship last.
Thank you, Lempit. Yeah, thank you guys all for watching. It's a new show for me. I'm going to be back hopefully once a week, perhaps, until we cement that out. But I hope if you do like my work, obviously my YouTube channel is Delivering Liberty, which I probably will be broadcasting from in the coming weeks when doing Unprecedented TV. But please do tune in again and keep tuned for the next show on Unprecedented TV. Thank you all, guys.